Okay, here we are with issue 50. Let's go ahead and take a look. So issue 50 is the halfway mark, and I haven't done a review of the data and the details yet. So let's go ahead and bounce over there and do a review of that, and then we'll come back and we'll go through this issue. Okay, so here we are with our details and our data. So we're going to start up here. I haven't really gone through this for quite a while, so we're going to start up here at issue 40, and these are our issues. And just as a reminder, this is the number of videos within that issue, and then this would be the number of captures within that issue. So you can see that the quad cannon controls, we had 5 captures, but then we can see over here how long the actual video was. So we had a total of two hours for completion time on that one, and this is our completion time, and this one is our video capture time. So our completion time should be longer in most instances than total video time, as well as total record time, because there's going to be some stuff done off camera. And you can see down here, for the hull plating, we had 3 hours and 23 minutes and 54 seconds of total time, but only came out to a 22-minute and 50-second video. So definitely kind of stretches stuff out. 3 hours here, only 32 minutes. So let's have a look at some more of these details. So in issue 40, we glued 11 pieces on, and that was our framework and plating. Or we screwed 11 pieces on, so we put together 11 pieces of framework, and our total time was kept here. We didn't glue anything on. Over here, this is where I actually started counting the micro brushes. So I went with whatever my number was that I had been keeping, and then that way when I use them, I can add them in here. So let's go ahead and continue on through here. So the next issue, we only put one screw in, but we glued 14 pieces. That's when we were actually putting the quad cannon controls together. The next issue after that, we glued together 8 pieces, and that was, we were putting together some of the equipment insert, one of those parts that go up underneath the hull plating. It ended up getting painted black, as you can see. We had some black and chrome and silver and rust and that kind of stuff. The next part is when we were putting the covers to the landing gear together. That was 12 items glued together. External machinery was 8 pieces. Some more external machinery was 13 pieces, so we actually glued more stuff together. And then this is when we started doing the hull plating. So even though we did a total of 3 hours of build time, part of that was because we did 123 screws, and we did a bunch of stuff off camera for this one. And the next issue, we did another 38 screws, but we also glued on 25 items. So that was part of our hull details. And we get into some more of the hull plating and the cargo details. And so this is, we screwed 6 things together, and the cargo details was from me actually building those cargo items, those detail items. And then we get into our lower hull details. We glued 10 items on the lower hull, and we did some painting and whatnot. Most of that is the painting of the cargo stuff. And then we get down here into issue 50, and we did 24 screws, and that's when we started working on the upper framework. And I did glue 4 things on, and those were little strips at the bottom of the bottom of the little hover sled thing. We could actually update that to 5 because I also actually glued that hover sled in place. So there we go. So that is this stuff here, and we can see what our video counters are. We had 24 minutes, 29, 29, 18, 19, 18, 22, 19, 32, 25, and 9. So the video links are getting to be fairly small on a regular basis, but if we start looking here, we can see that some of our captures are much larger. So we have an hour and 13 minutes there, 46, an hour and 44 there. And if we come over here, we can definitely see where we were doing a lot of stuff off camera. Like here, we did 2 hours and 10 minutes off camera. Here was another hour off camera. But then we also have some instances like here where we didn't do anything off camera. So let's go ahead and we'll come over to our entire stats. So we've done 69 videos total. Still, the most videos we've done for any one issue is 5. We've got 195 total captures for those, and our total video time is 33 hours and 26 minutes. And then I started breaking this up into total video time for each of the each section. So you can see we had total video time of 20 hours and 36 minutes for issues 1 through 20, but only 9 hours and 4 minutes for issues 21 through 40. Part of that is because some of the issues or the videos were smaller, but also we didn't have near as many multiple video issues. So and then so far in issues 41 through 60, we're at 3 hours and 45 minutes for total video time. But now if we come over here to our build time, we have 107 hours for total build time, and that breaks down to 65 hours and 49 minutes for issues 1 through 20. 21 through 40, it was only 30 or 26 hours, and already we're at over 15 hours for issues 40 through 60. So very likely we'll at least meet that 26-hour mark. Now, if we look at our average time, video time is down to 29 minutes, just almost right at 29 minutes. Our shortest video is the most recent, which is 9 minutes and 59 seconds, and our longest issue, longest issue, still 3 hours and 22 minutes. We're up to 467 total screws, so we're catching up in the screw department, and total glued is at 568. We're still at 3 bottles of glue, 3 cans of primer. Technically, we're kind of at 4 because I'm using 2 different types of primer, but that's okay. We're up to 200 micro brushes, and we've used 25 pipe cleaners and 5 X-Acto blades. So there you go. I've been breaking it down a little bit more and keeping the details. I'll probably keep doing these details separately and kind of bunching them up in bigger chunks unless you guys like them during each of the magazine reviews. So let's go ahead and get back to the magazine. Okay, welcome back everyone. So here we are with the actual issue of issue 50, the actual magazine part. And in this one, we're going to talk about the AA-9 Coruscant Starfreighter. So, and this one specifically, but then we'll talk about the AA-9 Starfreighter as a whole. Why it's called a Coruscant Starfreighter, I don't know. So Buttigieg is an outer rim planet situated on the Hydean Way in the Bellsmith system. Its southern island continent is covered with ship manufacturing, although components for large ships are lifted from there into space for final assembly. Buttigieg shipyard's design for the AA-9 freighter was pretty basic, with 3 sublight engines positioned in a triad drive array at the stern, a huge amount of cargo space, and a cockpit in the prow, offering the crew a clear view during travel while the ship was being developed. Buttigieg shipyards received help from the Carillion Engineering Corporation, which provided the large Dyne 2577 radial sublight engines that powered their hulking behemoth. Passenger transport. So the Buttigieg shipyards intended the AA-9 as an all-around transport vessel, and the Starfreighter quickly became a common sight on Coruscant and on many other planets in the galaxy that possessed busy Republic-class spaceports. But the AA-9 will probably be most remembered for the important role it played during the turbulent times known as the Separatist Crisis. Yeah, Separatist Crisis. Interesting. That's an interesting way to describe it. In the years before the Clone Wars, more and more star systems were leaving the Republic under influence of the enigmatic Count Dooku and the economic powerhouses of the galaxy, such as the Commerce Guild and the Trade Federation. As a result, thousands of alarmed economic and political refugees fled to the core worlds from planets that were no longer part of the Republic. Not even core worlds such as Coruscant could find the proper facilities to integrate the constant stream of refugees. The flood of arrivals caused social unrest, fear of epidemic diseases, and cultural disputes, as unfortunately proven in the massive brawl between Weequay and Hauk migrants that left 15 dead and 45 injured. Coruscant's immigration committee decided to limit the possibilities for asylum, meaning that most refugees had to be transported to other worlds once they'd reached Coruscant. Several planets, including Naboo, Alderaan, Monastery, Dirksteel, and Kalarba, accepted the offer to welcome these refugees, and in order to make it viable to transport large numbers of migrants with limited funds, the AA-9 Starfreighters were refitted to function as basic passenger liners. At Coruscant Westport and Eastport, two of the large spaceport districts, multiple AA-9s departed to new destinations almost on a daily basis. Within 2 years, Coruscant recorded 60-fold increase in its refugee traffic, but not only migrants boarded the Starfreighters, the budget transports also became economic lifelines for many freighter trampers, workers that hop from one job to another on different planets. Refugee relief movement. One charity organization that made a serious effort to relocate the disposed was the refugee relief movement from Naboo. Under its direction, the refugee resettlement coalition was founded, which included 10 mid-rim planets that eased their immigration laws. One of the converted AA-9s was the Gendarian Valley, registered to a Naboo Transportation Guild and named after an area of natural beauty near the city of Theed. Shortly before the Battle of Geonosis, the Gendarian Valley departed the Westport on Coruscant to Naboo. On board were thousands of refugees, freighter trampers, and outland peasants, as well as two people who would play a key role in the Clone Wars. So this is, among many freighter trampers, were Denovian rainmen, mechanics who maintain the signal towers on the rainy planet of Denovia. So it's quite the outfit. Comes equipped with your own kind of umbrella or whatever. Kind of a creative way to do it. That's I don't know like how that would actually work. As long as it's coming straight down, I think you'd be fine. If it's coming in this way, it'd still be kind of a pain. But that's actually better than like having a hat where it's dripping off, I think. It'd be interesting to try that. It's pretty funny. Passenger conversion. A converted AA-9 could house 30,000 refugees in its cargo hold, but conditions were far from luxurious. No different classes were offered, only steerage. Accommodation was very basic, with open, cramped barracks and sleeping quarters and very few private areas. A handful of droids performed duties such as cleaning and cooking meals. This was often done by COO cook droids, who simply reheated pre-prepared food donated for the passengers. The recipes were basic and contained standard ingredients aimed at pleasing as many species and cultures as possible. Steerage passengers. The AA-9 Gendarian Valley was populated by several steerage overseers. These officials, led by the Constable Marcel Schradier, received the authority to intervene whenever problems arose between the passengers. Armed with stun batons, the overseers could force troublesome passengers to disembark wherever the freighter landed. These strict measures allowed all passengers to travel in relative peace and tranquility. Um, so we all know about the whole thing there. So yeah, we won't go through that, but we will talk about the behind the scenes. Ocean liners. An unused concept for the AA-9 looks a lot like the Trade Federation XT Beetle transport seen in the Clone Wars episode Trespass. But concept design supervisor Doug Chiang compared the final appearance of the Starfreighter in Coruscant Westport to a large ocean liner in a harbor, because passengers entered the vessel at mid-level, an idea that George Lucas had suggested. While the cockpit of the AA-9 was influenced by aircraft cockpit windows to make them look very tiny compared to the large scale of the vessel. The scene in Attack of the Clones where Padme, Anakin, and R2 board the Gendarian Valley mixes visual ideas of a bus terminal with an airport, and conceptual designs were drawn by Jay Schuster, Mark Cabana, and Doug Chiang. An idea to include CGI cattle aboard the vessel was dropped when the scene was shortened. So there you go. You can actually see two of them there. This one was getting boarded, looks like, and this one must be the Gendarian Way. It's getting ready to leave. So yeah, there's a lot of traffic there. The Occupation of Lothal. So this doesn't really go and talk a ton about the occupation. This more talks about just Lothal as in general, but it does talk a little bit about um, different things. So we'll go ahead and go through this as well. In a galaxy packed with hundreds of millions of inhabited worlds, Lothal was but another grain of sand on an endless galactic beach. Naturally, visitors were attracted primarily to its major conurbations, capital city and central city, but Lothal offered other destinations not only for the galactic traveler, but also the opportunistic trader seeking a swift profit. Capital City. This was the planet's major population center and the hub of all political activity on Lothal. Here was where the majority of starships from out of system landed, where the government of Lothal convened and oversaw all planetary decisions, and where inevitable, the Empire chose to make its presence felt when it moved in. Under Imperial rule, travelers arriving in Capital City had a variety of places across the city that they could visit. The Northern Market District held a weekly fair that dated back centuries, which gave buyers the chance to sample local produce as well as off-world delights, filtered through to the market via independent traders and members of the underworld. Cantinas were a common sight on Lothal as they were where were we? As they were across many fellow Outer Rim worlds. Giving citizens a place to drink away their cares, such establishments prospered during the increasingly tough years of Imperial control. Ake's Tavern was one such cantina, tucked away in the Market District. Capital City also boasted a high-quality spaceport, a rarity to this far out on the rim, capable of docking and refueling numerous vessels at a time. The port was frequented regularly by members of the underworld before the arrival of the, I'm going to guess, Empire. Let's finish that thought. We'll come back and talk about these remote outposts. um, the Empire and its watchful eyes pushing the underworld's presence further and further out into the townships um, and hamlets of Lothal. This starport saw numerous Imperial arrivals and departures during the occupation. During the presence of the Empire, remnants of the Old Republic were yet to be swept away. The Old Republic Senate building still stood tall in the city, replaced in function by the new Imperial complex, but remaining as a reminder of the golden days of freedom and non-interference. Remote outposts. This is actually pretty interesting. Outside of the major cities, many of the Lothal populations live in small outposts. One such was given the informal name of Jothal after its chief attraction, a small cantina and repair shop managed for decades by an elderly Ithorian known as Old Joe. Uh, he unlikely but popular haunt of visitors. This remote establishment laid low in a dip of a broad grassland concealed from the ground speeders racing along the lanes. It sat alongside two docking bays and a cluster of small buildings. The wall of one of the docking bays allowed entrance into Old Joe's pit stop. Owner of both the docking bays and the cantina, Joe preferred the informality of the pit stop, giving him the opportunity to spin tales and catch up on the latest gossip from his regular and visiting customers. Joe was a staunch believer in freedom and equality and abhorrent to the tyranny of the empire, as visitors would soon learn. Indeed, one of the reasons his patrons enjoyed spending time in the pit stop was that the presence of the empire was, as much as possible, ignored. No holonet played on the screens, no propaganda spewed from the speakers. Historians with a keen eye uh, Historians with a keen interest in the Clone Wars would certainly be surprised to see the remains of an LAAT transport above the doorway, painted to obscure its original history. The transport and its two wings were clearly visible, and along the side of the ship, a logo showing the Crumb Bomber, and all genuine artifacts, according to Joe. They were a reminder of the Clone Wars that the Clone Wars touched lives in every corner of the galaxy. So you can see here, there we go. So you can see here the front of the gunship and the transport, and then there's the side wings there. So there you go. So that's pretty interesting, I thought. And there's, in case you wanted to see what Joe looked like, and you haven't watched Rebels, that's Joe. That's the Ithorian. So he's the hammerhead type species. So, and let's go ahead and finish this up. Imperial developments. Imperial occupying forces were quickly to stamp their presence not only on Lothal, but wherever people congregated in many numbers. Away from the major cities, the modest population of Lothal was spread thinly across the surface of the planet. Small settlements were commonplace, localized communities working together to make their uh, meager resources go as far as they could. One such location was Kothal. This small settlement was home to a variety of traders and vendors selling all manner of wares, including malorum, fruit, meats, and other foodstuffs. A typical Lothal township, Kothal was otherwise unremarkable, save for the presence of the Junior Academy of Applied Sciences, an imperial academy constructed to train their brightest cadets from junior to officer levels. Visitors to Kothal would quickly see the academy standing tall against the skyline of the township. Increasingly, the silhouette of the townships across the planet were altered by the swift construction of such buildings. Focus of insurrection. Underworld activity prospered in the mid and outer rim, far from the rule of law. Free traders, smugglers, pirates, and con men plied their trades in relative comfort. wary only of local militia and few underworld organizations. With the arrival of the Empire at Lothal, matters changed as the Emperor's expansion plans intruded on the region. Gang lords changed their policies. Alliances were forged and new opposition, including the arming of idealistic rebel cells intent on freeing the galaxy from the Empire's tyrannical presence. And the behind the scenes. The Imperial occupation is shown to exact a heavy toll on the people of Lothal during the first season of Star Wars Rebels. Quickly beaten down into submission, they, like countless planets before them, are forced to suffer as the Empire has its way with their world. Other media developed the story of this struggle, in particular the Servants of the Empire trilogy by Jason Fry. Through the eyes of young farmer Beck Olet, we see the impact that the Imperial arrival on Lothal has on the inhabitants' way of life and their ability to make a living. Distrustful of the Empire, Beck makes a stand, refusing to join the Empire and opting instead to engage in sabotage against it. That's pretty interesting. And that, we only have 2 parts in this one. So that is the end of issue 50. Again, this is going to talk about some of the items for painting and that kind of stuff. And so that was the end of issue 50. And in issue 51, we're going to get some more parts for the framework, which, considering we've been putting them on, it wouldn't surprise me if that's what we're going to be doing next time. And I might add in some cargo stuff. So I got these little cargo containers that I need to get cleaned up because they had some stickers on them. So and they didn't just peel off. So I got to clean these up, and I might paint them and add these as well as some of the little cargo containers that I already made to add some variety and put those in the main hold. So maybe I'll start working on that as well in issue 51 if all we're doing is framework. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. And I want to say, be on the lookout. I'm going to start reviewing some of the main sections that I've already completed. And by reviewing them, I'm going to show the finished part of it, as it is currently, and then we'll kind of review the footage from previously. So that way, if you want to get caught up and see how things have progressed to this point, and you don't want to go back and watch the old ones, although I'd really appreciate if you did go back and watch them, you'll be able to get just a quick review of what those were like. So be on the lookout for those. I felt like issue 50 at that halfway mark is a good spot to start doing some of that and get caught up with things. So check those out when they pop up. And I'll probably be putting those up maybe like midweek type of thing, so they won't be interrupting the normal flow of things. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching again, and may the Force be with you always.